My homies, I'm with my boy Franco right here. So Franco and I, that's correct grammar, went out a few days ago because he's like, bro, let me teach you about this OG bite. And that he did. Like, it was absolutely stupid. And it was kind of stupid in another way too, because it's so different than what you'd expect a quote unquote like topwater bite would be.
They use it to catch really big GT out in Australia over the Great Barrier Reef.
Okay, saltwater fish.
Yeah, so what happened is that Ryan connected with Cast, and obviously now is part owner of Cast, and we saw it and said, hey, let's try it out here on Lanier.
Right.
And it provides something that the fish have not seen.
I noticed that.
That's the key thing. It's that it gives them a totally different presentation and a totally different look. And the drawing power of this bait is unlike any other topwater that I've seen.
So let's talk about that action. So at TGN, you're like, this could work on Lanier. Why?
Yeah. Ryan and I what brought us together is glide baits.
Okay.
And we really enjoy just throwing glide baits to catch big fish.
Right.
And what happens, as you know, with a glide bait is that it has such a unique, lively swimming action, and it draws big fish.
And it's bigger.
And it's bigger.
Usually bigger.
Bigger, exactly. And just like in Australia, they throw actually a much larger size of this. And that's what we originally started with. We started with a really large bait and throwing it. And what happens is with this bait is that it looks like a regular
spook
or whatever.
Like that,
but it has a very lively, unique swimming action. It never does the same thing twice.
I noticed that, yeah.
So the way you work it is not how you would typically work your topwater bait, right? Where you would just throw it out there and walk the dog. Now you could do that, but as like you picked up on, when you start imparting reel actions and turning the reel, it actually makes the bait swim and actually do stuff that looks like a real live bait fish.
It's absolutely crazy. Like, this thing will dart left, right like a spook, but then it'll just run straight and then it'll just turn left. Like, it's completely, like, for lack of a better word, it's like dynamic. The action is never the same. It really reminds me of glide bait in that way too.
Exactly. And I have my mentality is, the way I approach fishing a lot of times is with that glide bait mentality. And so this kind of fits directly into my wheelhouse because I can go out and target big fish with it. It has tremendous drawing power because of the action of it. And I believe the way it goes subsurface and comes back up, the fish see it, and typically your bigger fish in the school will get drawn to it first.
100%. And like, that's what I noticed too.
They come unglued for it. And so for me, that's a great approach for me to be able to target the bigger fish. I've caught both of my largemouth and spotted bass PB on Lanier on this bait.
On the OG.
On the OG. Both PBs have come on this bait.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And it does kind of capture that. It's bigger and the action is so unique and it has this sort of drawing power. And the other thing that I noticed too is you fish it faster.
Yes.
Because these fish really, they're reaction fish, especially this time of year. As things warm up, it's not that minnow jig head shaking, keeping it still, stalling the bait. You're actually trying to move so fast that they have to make a choice, either eat it or get out of it.
Well, like a glide bait, to go back to that, for those of you guys that love throwing a glide bait, and this is a little bit of juice for you guys as you pick up this bait. You can reel it and make it act quickly and dart in order to get their attention. But a lot of times your bigger bites, just the way that you stall a glide bait and you make it sit there, is exactly the same way this bait works to draw bigger bites. You let the bait just sit there and it comes up and it actually kind of bobs. And you let it sit there, and then all of a sudden you work it again, and then all of a sudden that big one will come unglued for it. And so that again, I'm kind of giving you guys a little intel there with regards to how to get some really big bites on this bait. It's about what you impart into the bait and how you make it act, but it's again having that big fish mentality. It really fits well.
It's insane. Like what he showed me, and the stalling thing took me a while to like learn. It's almost like a fusion of a jerkbait too, where that pause, you're trying to figure out that cadence. You know, I guess that's like a glide bait too. You're sort of chopping it, but it has this dynamic kind of wide action to it. But then that pause, and Franco kept telling me when we were out, he's like, bro, take a breath. You gotta let it sit. You gotta let it bob, and it has this weird little jump up bob.
That's right.
So the other thing too is, you know, we're on Lanier, the water's super clear, but you're throwing this on what, like 50-pound braid. Your setup's a little bit different because it is a bigger bait and a bigger presentation. What exactly, or how do you have it rigged up here?
Yeah, so, and I didn't even talk to you really about this, but Cast makes their own X12 braid, which I know you're really big into.
I love it on my spinning reel.
The 12-pound test.
Absolutely love it.
The 50-pound test, it is part of this entire system. Like, this braid is made for this bait. And the reason why I say that, it comes in it's a thinner diameter 50-pound, but it's ultra smooth and it casts like super far. So one of the things that you'll see when you get this bait is that you can cast it a mile. And for schooling fish, that's like an added bonus, right?
That's huge, yeah.
It makes it, you know, when you're out and you typically you can't reach those fish, but with this braid, it makes it easier to get a good cast on them. So I take 50-pound X12 cast braid to a leader. Now, some guys, they tie directly to the bait, and that's fine. The reason why I tie a short leader too, it's like a foot, and this is a 15-pound big game mono leader. I tie it to the bait for two reasons. First of all, when you get a big long cast and you have one of those big ones come up, it gives some shock absorption to the bait. To be able to when they hit it so hard, you don't want to just jam them. Now, right. I know this guy loves to jam them, but I have this thing in my mind that I like to have a little bit of that shock absorption here for the bait to actually to set those hooks and not tear it out, I guess, if you will. So that's a big deal for me. And then another key point here, and I talked to Mikey a lot about this too, and this is just kind of I get kind of very precise with things. I tie it to a small swivel with an O-ring, and what that does is it allows for the bait to act more freely.
Yeah.
So again, you can tie directly to the bait, and guys love it that way.
Right.
But for me, I like to add this little extension right here in order for the bait to act a little bit more freely.
No, that makes sense. I'm actually a huge fan of, I use clips on all my top waters. That way I can swap them out, but at the same time it's almost like tying a loop knot all the time without having the headache of tying a loop knot. So I was kind of blown away on how this thing fishes and in the strikes that it draws. Yeah. What is your general targeting for this? Is it mainly schooling fish, or you kind of talked about how it actually draws fish up?
Yeah, so right now, I'm sure you guys will see, we've been targeting fish during the herring spawn. So during the shad spawn. So they're feeding up on both shad and herring right now, and it works really well. Mm-hmm. For any of your fisheries that you have a good shad or herring spawn. The other thing that it does is if you have fish in your fisheries that are suspended or on brush, this thing has tremendous drawing power to bring those fish up. So if you have fish sitting in the water column where you know they're kind of in that top part of the water column or either sitting on brush, and you have something that you could draw them up with, this is extremely effective.
I was blown away by how deep they would come from. Granted, Lanier's pretty clear. It's actually a little stained right now because of some rains and that. But we were pulling fish up from 10 foot of water, 12 foot of water. And it was insane. And I think part of that is this bait, for as much as it looks like a walking bait, it also splooshes quite a bit, and then it dives down 6 to 8 inches. So you're getting sort of a surface disturbance, you're getting a diving action, and then it's coming back up and bobbing, and also creating that bloop kind of thing as it comes up. So you have kind of the visual draw, the underwater draw, and then that sort of, I don't know, that lateral line and that sound draw. That you got to have semi-clear water. I think it can't be dingy,
yeah.
But it is crazy how it draws them up. The other thing that you're gonna find too that I was victim of is you're gonna see a lot of fish that you don't catch. It's just one of those deals. Like it's a reactive deal. They have to be in the right mindset, the right mode.
Yeah.
But it does draw some absolute giants, like crazy giants that when other baits won't. It's much like a glide bait in that way.
Yeah.
Any tips for throwing this before we wrap this thing up? Like things, I know when we went out, we ran like 25 spots.
Yeah.
And we probably only caught like 12, 13 fish,
Right,
which for Lanier
right,
is not
right.
a lot of fish. But I managed to try to boat flip and lose a 5-pounder, which would have been my PB spot. Nice job, Mike. But I guess, is this a glide bait philosophy to actually fishing this, or how do you approach it?
I mean, that's my philosophy. I think, I mean, if you're a guy, here's the one thing I would say. You can fish this like any other topwater bait, like a spook. If you want to try something that is brand new, the one thing that just gets me so fired up about fishing is that you can come out here and you can try something totally different than anyone else is throwing, and catch fish that of a caliber that you haven't seen yet, or that again, like for me, to see a 5-7 spot in my boat off this bait was something that just blew my mind.
I would lose it, dude.
So for me, again, guys, if you want to try something that's totally out of the box, different, this is for you. This is something that I would definitely encourage you to get it, try it out, because it's something that is kind of in a box of its own, if you will. It's not like other topwater lures, if you will. It kind of creates this different category, if you will, where you can get really creative with it. You can do things that other topwater lures can't do by just you imparting action to the bait. And for me, dude, that's what fishing is all about.
100%. And it is super cool. We're hyping it, but I'm hyping it because it's kind of nuts. I wasn't expecting it to behave and to do this stuff. And also learning how to fish it is hugely important, because what you showed me with the quick reels and pausing and that, there's a lot of, I don't know, art to fishing it. Just like a glide bait. You got to kind of learn how to do it.
That's the great way to say it.
It's so good.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was cool. And I had shot at a PB, and then I blew it. So I'll just go throw it again. You'll probably see it when we're doing some fishing out here on Lanier. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys got any questions for Franco, like, you're on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram.
Right? Where can they find you?
Curotto. It's Curotto Franco. And obviously, check us out on at castfishing.co. That's another Instagram page you can go to and hit us up.
Yeah, they got a bunch of cool videos out there. Ryan always goes and fishes Lanier and some of the lakes around here in Georgia and that. I'll put a link to the OG down in the description box at Tackle Warehouse if you guys want to go check it out. But if you got any questions, hit this guy up, because I'm just learning. I'm a novice. But hopefully you will see it in the next few videos, catching some absolutely magnum spots.